Right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in for another Authors Impact Hub podcast. I am your host, Juanita Woodson, founder of the Authors Impact Hub. And as always, we have amazing authors that come on and they share about their new books or books that they've written and about their author journey, right? So tonight we have on with us Kellie Williams, and she's going to be sharing more about her journey to becoming an author and about her book. So I always let the authors do their own introductions. I don't think that anyone can say who you are better than yourself. So Kellie, I'm going to pass it over to you if you can just real quick tell us a little bit about yourself and the title of the book that we'll be discussing.
Hi, my name is Kellie Williams. I am an author, almost official. Woo. The name of my book is Unlocking Your Purpose, and I am just excited about the book. I'm excited about what God has done this far, just throughout the journey, and it's just been amazing. I'm from DeSoto, Texas, and I'm just amazed at what God is doing, not just through my writing, but as well as ministry as well.
Yes, awesome. So let's talk about unlocking your purpose. So what inspired you to write Unlocking Your Purpose?
And so when I think about the unlocking your purpose, I think about how people have poured into me growing up, how people have poured into me even up into today. And I just feel like when I think about those, I ask myself questions: how can I be able to give back to people who have poured into me so that someone along the journey who needs that pour, I can be able to give back into them. And so when I feel like what inspires me is having people poured into me and the valuable information that they have given unto me has just been amazing. And that just pushes me to want to be able to pass that along um, to other people. It's almost like the movie Pay It Forward. Uh,
Yes.
so I feel like that's what really inspires me to write my book, Unlocking Your Purpose.
Yes, absolutely. So what is purpose, right? So because some people may watch this or listen to it and they may not know what purpose is. So can you define what purpose is? What does that mean to you?
So when I think about purpose, I think about what is my overall goal or overall mission in life. What do I want people to remember me by, or what do I want people to think about me? Do I want them to just see me as someone who just started a business and doesn't have an impact that I'm leaving on people? I want to think about how can I pour back into people who really need it, or give back, in other words, to people who really needs it. And so I think about purpose. I think about how can I give back the way people have given to me.
Yes, absolutely. Love that. So what were some of the things that you don't have to give it all away, right? Because we want them to go and pick up a copy of your book. But what were some of the things that you struggled with that led you to write this book?
And see, the way I think about it, I remember myself actually just starting out, just journaling things in a journal. And at the time, I wasn't thinking about, writing a book, but I was just thinking about the different things that I struggle with that I would write in my journal at the time, where I was struggling with like insecurity. I was just struggling with like low self esteem, feeling like I just had to have people around me, or I needed people's opinions for so long. And so I feel like struggling with those things and writing it out in a journal is what I struggle with. But I also feel like other people struggle with, so they needed to hear more about someone else's story that can actually give them the courage to keep going.
Yes, absolutely. And you keep saying pour into others, right? So I can tell that that's something that you are absolutely passionate about. So taking those things that you learn from and being able to help other people maybe to come out of those same situations or maybe not even have to go through those things at all, right? So let's talk a little bit about the writing process, because when you're writing, one thing I have learned is that, especially when you're writing about some things that you thought that you were over, that you buried, and you're writing about them, and it can bring up some emotion. So, what was that like for you through your writing process?
So when I started out writing, I started writing when I started writing this specific book about when I was like maybe 15 or 16 years old.
Hey.
A lot of the emotions that I was experiencing was just sadness, of just feeling like I've had enough and feeling like this is too much. I don't know how I can keep going
Yeah.
on like this because of it's almost like when you go through so much and it keeps building and it keeps building and you think you can control it, but eventually you break down and you just say enough is enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of reminds me about that Tyler Perry movie that just came out, Straw.
Yeah.
Makes me think of that, where she just had her breaking point and reached the last straw, right? So what helped you, right? What helped you to not, what do the kids say, crash out. So what helped you with all of those things piling on that you were going through? What helped you to not have that like crash out moment?
Well, I am a firm believer on prayer and
Yeah.
just reading my Bible. Um, those things help me to really just rely on God more. But even journaling, I feel like that's the key point for me as where it started out with me writing my book was
Mm-hmm.
journaling out those feelings and journaling out how I feel, almost like little prayer journals, but just writing out how I feel has helped me to get through those low moments. But also having those key specific people in my life that have poured into me, and it has just made me feel like now I want to pour back into the next generation because somebody poured into me and helped me get to where I am. And so I'm grateful to God for just having those key things and being able to have those people in my life who have just really helped push me um, to where I am today.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So can you share a moment where you clearly recognize God's direction and your purpose?
So I'll talk about my YouTube channel. So I really like to consider my YouTube channel as my spiritual baby that I believe God has given me to really just push out there to just encourage people, especially when we're going through the pandemic and things like that. And everybody's minds was just everywhere, and we just stopped believing in God. We had our doubts, we had our fears and things like that. And I feel like when the Lord put that in my spirit to start, um, my mind was just it was froze because I'm like, Lord, are you really sure? I don't want to
Yes.
be out here doing this and you didn't say do it and things like that. But when he confirmed it in my spirit, I just the first thing I wanted to talk about was a lot had to do with the pandemic and the responses that I got and the feedback that I got from just being open and honest and
Yeah.
just sharing our feelings about how we were feeling about the pandemic, but also making sure that we are staying relying on God
Yeah.
through those moments. And just the feedback that I got was very encouraging and uplifting. And it made me feel like, Lord, that was the confirmation that I needed to know to keep pursuing what you told me to pursue.
Yes, absolutely. So then what advice would you give to someone who feels unsure about their calling and the things that God is telling them to do?
So I think some advice I would give them is prayer. I know we talk about prayer all the time, and I know some people may say, I've been praying, I've been praying, I've been praying," but in my experience, I feel like prayer is a process. So when we think about prayer and we think about our calling is not going to happen overnight. But I believe that when we put our heart posture and our mindset to pray and believe God that when it happens, it's going to happen over time. I'm not going to get the answer right away, then God will continue to show us as we are continuing to pray about our calling and about our journey and our purpose in life. Because like I talk about in my book, it is a process. It's just something that just doesn't happen overnight. I remember when I was in that phase of not sure what my calling was.
Right.
But the Lord had to remind me that this is a process, just like this Christian faith journey is a process, it's a journey.
Mhm.
I believe our calling is a journey when it comes to trying to find out what is it that God is trying to call me to.
Yes, absolutely. So, how has writing this book impacted your faith walk and your spiritual growth?
I believe it has impacted my faith walk because it has changed my perspective on how I see things, how I go through things. I believe it changed from when I first started writing this book.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, Lord, why? Why did you allow me to go through this? Why did you allow me to experience this pain?
Right.
Versus now, when I see it, I just see it as, Lord, you're taking me through this for a greater purpose.
Yes.
I learned to, instead of building on my flesh how I first would have done. Now
Mm.
my first source is, okay, Lord, let me pray and ask you for direction on how to approach these things as I'm going through this, and get in my word to understand what you will have me to understand, or what examples that you have left for people who had to experience somewhat similar to what I had to go through. And so I feel like that has what's really just shifted me and spiritually growth. I just feel like it has really helped me to increase my word time, and has helped me to just stay more focused in the word, more fasting, more consecration. Not saying I wasn't doing that at first, but
Sure.
you need sometimes you need to spend more time in the word, more time in the prayer. Because I believe that when you do that, God begins to show you things. He begins to speak to you more clearly of why you having to go through that struggle or that situation that you're facing.
Yes, absolutely. So, what is one thing that a reader who may be considering picking up your book, what's one thing they can expect to gain from reading the book?
I believe they can expect transparency, because I feel like in my generation, or even just being as young as I am, a lot of times we don't have a lot of transparencies in books. And so that could be hard for a reader to want to read a book, because they feel like, I'm going through all this and I'm about to pick up a book, but there's no transparency. I wish I had someone that could give me some examples, or who could
Right.
help me understand why I'm having to go through this, or someone who went through similar situations, um, their storms, and to be able to have that similarity or transparency will help me want to pick up a book and say, oh, I want to purchase this book, because
Yeah.
she brought a lot of transparency into this and things like that. And even in my walk, I feel like we need more transparency. A lot of times we don't have that, and that pushes us back to feel like we're alone and we don't have nobody.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your transparency, right? Because I know sometimes it causes you to feel vulnerable. You're out here and you're telling people these things that you maybe wanted to just keep to yourself, but we know that our purpose is not just for us, it's definitely there to help push somebody else closer to who God has created them to be as well. So thank you for that. So what's next for you on your author journey?
Well, I'm just excited because I'm currently working on a prayer journal or prayer book, whichever the Lord will lead me to, but specifically more on prayer, because that's what the direction the Lord has been speaking to me on.
Okay. Okay. So like listen, once you get that unction to keep writing and you know that it's necessary, God will keep downloading. and he will keep downloading.
Yes.
So I definitely just recommend to keep writing when he downloads. So how can we connect with you on social media? I know you mentioned you have a YouTube channel earlier, so we want to make sure you share that as well.
So I am on Facebook, just Kellie Williams. You can follow me on Instagram _I'm blessed _22. Of course, my YouTube channel is Journey with K 22. And then of course on TikTok, Journey with K 22.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So I always end the show with one last question, and that is, what impact do you want your book to leave on the world?
So I want to be able to, what impact I would like to leave on the world, or even just for the readers, is to draw them back to Christ. That's my overall mission, is to draw them back to Christ. If you're not saved, to get saved, and encourage them to join this faith walk, this Christian walk, because it's so needed in times like these.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining and taking the time out to share about unlocking your purpose and what your journey was like. Definitely can't wait to see the impact that your work continues to make on young adults, young people, and just the overall body of Christ for sure. Thank you so much, listeners, for tuning in. Make sure that you go and connect with Kellie on social media. Make sure you subscribe to her YouTube channel. She's always dropping some amazing content on there. And of course, when you come across this episode, make sure that you leave us a comment, one takeaway that you got from the episode. Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. And then share this with someone who needs some encouragement as well. Until next time, take care.